We're going to talk more Manziel. We're going to talk Hanukkah coming up. It is the first day of Hanukkah. Goes through December 24th. So if you are, if you're Jewish, we wish you happy Hanukkah.
Well, Mr. Schindler's coming on with us, and he's very nervous.
He's all good.
Okay.
He's a banker. He ain't stressed. He's all good. Jim Harris is going to join us on the Sticky's Rock and Roll Chicken Shack hotline about right now. Hi, Jim.
Hey, what's going on?
Is it okay to wish Jim a happy Hanukkah, you think?
Hey, what's going on, Jim?
Happy Hanukkah, Jim.
Hey, Jim.
What the heck?
Cool. You can wish me happy Kwanzaa, whatever.
I don't know the details on that. Maybe we'll tackle that next year. So how are you?
I'm all encompassing here. I'm doing good. I'm doing well. It's less than 2 weeks till another football game. So
that's it. We only got a few days till another basketball game. How much were you disappointed, or how much were you bothered by the Clemson loss? And does the win over Dayton do anything to restore your faith or confidence in this basketball program?
Well, Arkansas plays well on the road, and they play good defense. I mean, Arkansas plays well at home, and they play good defense at home. But except for the SMU game, Arkansas has gone out not fully inspired, I would say. I think if Portis had not been pumped up for the Iowa State game that you guys attended, it might have been about 25-2 there at one point, without his efforts. I'm not sure, still don't know, I'm not sure anybody does why Arkansas, with the exception of the SMU game earlier this year, and the Kentucky game last year, Arkansas took the court and was really pumped from the start and played well. I'm just not sure why they go on the road. So, just not really into it with intensity. If they have to play with intensity, I realize that on the road they may be afraid that their intensity, leads to fouls real quickly, and sometimes it has. When they've tried to play intense in the first couple of minutes, they get whistled pretty quick with fouls. Here at Fayetteville, things were kind of wide open there. They played good defense, but there was that typical, reach and grabbing by both teams really in the day.
Even still, though, with all that, Jim, even still with all that, you had we had a 4-point lead. We were in a position. You go on the road.
They played well enough to beat Clemson for 39 minutes.
Yeah, you go on the road. You get a 4-point lead.
Game, you had a 4-point lead with a minute to go, and you had a complete. I hate to
put a meltdown.
It on one
certainly.
Person, but it was kind of a one-person point guard takeover meltdown.
It was, and that's why you can go back and look at that situation, and 100 out of 100 times, I'm going to say up 4 with 49 seconds, and Kai Madden just a couple days ago in that Dayton game was 8 for 8 from the free throw line. Now, he does lead the team in turnovers, admittedly. He does handle the ball probably more than anybody, so that's what you're going to get when you have your guy that handles the ball the most time. But I don't think anybody could have seen that coming. He's a guy that typically you say, okay, four-year guy, he gets fouled, makes his free throws, and we take this one back to the house. So it was a little uncharacteristic. I don't want to slam them for that, considering you ran into that buzzsaw with Iowa State. And, oh, by the way, did you just see a number 15 Butler go to Tennessee and get beat over the weekend, too.
That's Sunday. Good for the league. They need that.
They need to tout that win, don't they? They need to let everybody know that the same Butler team that went into Chapel Hill and beat Carolina went into Knoxville and got beat. So.
And I guess my point is that we all know it's a little bit different situation when you do go on the road. I'm not making excuses, but I just...
No doubt, Pat. If you look at Nolan's career record at Arkansas on the road, it was still like just a tad under 500. And I thought he did a great job. Think about that. They won a national championship. They went to the final another year. They went to the Final Four. So you figure that the road record was good. But I remember fearing every road game. I feared every road game when Eddie Sutton took his team on the road. It's just a tough place to play, especially when you either have, you don't have good ball handlers or don't have good free throw shooters or don't have experience. There's tons of reasons why teams falter on the road.
Hey, it's a story as old as time. We're watching a 1970 Razorback basketball game at TCU, and they blew a 5-point second-half lead. At least they were up 5 just a minute ago. We know they lose the game at TCU. So hey, it's been an issue for a long time under a lot of different coaches.
My question would be more than anything, Jim. Have you seen the latest top?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Have you seen the latest top 25?
Yeah, I saw.
I'm sure you have with the basketball.
Sure, I saw that Arkansas in others receiving votes in 2 of those polls.
And Kentucky at number 1, and the only other SEC presence is the Hogs receiving some votes, and I think LSU is receiving like 4 votes in the AP poll. And that's it.
Well, I mean, Florida, I didn't expect them to be that great, losing 4 starters, but, they've started out so up and down. And Arkansas, I didn't figure Iowa State for a victory. I don't think anybody really did. You kind of put that in the column of, boy, if you steal one there, that's a heck of a win. Expected to win at Clemson. So other than that, I mean, they're about where they should be, and they'd probably still be ranked if not for losing to a Clemson team that's got some really bad losses of themselves. But on the other hand, if you look at the RPI, or that poll that uses what the NCAA uses for RPI, it looks pretty good. Arkansas's ranked pretty good in that. Strength of schedule's great. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to say, everything's okay, except for that one loss. I mean, they should be in good shape entering conference play and then going in early in the year. I mean, they start out again on the road. I do wish the SEC would try to explain how Arkansas happens to open SEC play for the 3rd straight year on the road. That's seems kind of odd. And at Georgia, which I would have thought would have been one of those teams that might crack into the top 25, just because I think they're fairly well coached, and I think they added a couple of young players that were good.
I agree with you on Georgia. I'm just waiting for that to happen.
I think LSU's the one that pops up, hopefully.
I hope we need a couple of them, right? I mean, it's time.
Too. They lost on a neutral court to
Clemson, SEC champs.
What?
Clemson's SEC champs. Give it to them.
Yeah,
they runner-up to Kentucky. What's Clemson's record? They have a chance of making the tournament this year? That would really help things. I'm pretty confident Iowa State's going to be in there. Arkansas is not going to have a whole lot of tournament teams on their schedule. SMU, I guess, maybe,
Not Wake Forest.
They might. SMU's got another injury. The Moore kid was hurt. Clemson's probably going to be firing its coach at the end of the year. Arkansas's got a win over Wake Forest, which is rebuilding under Danny Manning. Iowa State ought to be in contention for the Big 12 with Kansas and Baylor, Oklahoma.
Clemson is playing a lot of SEC teams. I'll tell you what, I'm looking through their schedule now. They're about to play South Carolina in their next game. They
went through the whole deal.
They beat Auburn. They beat Arkansas. They beat LSU. They're going to play South Carolina in their next game. That's crazy.
What were those Clemson Auburn score? Because that was just the other day. And
they beat them 72-61. That was their last game on the 14th. They just played a couple days ago. So they played them at home. They played LSU at home. They played Arkansas at home. They go to South Carolina. So
maybe the problem isn't that Clemson is so bad. They may actually have some pretty good players. I thought that, they played well against Arkansas. They shot well at times. They have a big man who was tough to deal with. It may be the guy occupying the head coach's seat.
Yeah.
Well, that guy's been there.
This is his 5th
Brownell's
year.
been there for a few years now. I mean, he's had a chance to put something together, and they had a decent year last year as well.
That's not over. I mean, they're 6-3, and their league. Fortunately, they're going to play some conference teams that are.
They're going to have a chance.
Certainly very good, though. I mean, they'll have a chance to help themselves or get completely smashed. Because Miami's back in the ranked.
How about
they
that?
play Notre Dame is ranked. Duke is number 2. They
Why
play
is
Notre
Dame ranked? They are ranked. Is what they are.
Wow.
The 2 times I've watched them play.
I'll tell you why. Because they're the best shooting team in America. That's why they're ranked.
They wouldn't win 12 games in the SEC.
See, you know what?
Oh, my gosh.
Here's what I'm struggling with here. Maybe one of you guys can help me with this. I understand nationally everybody, unless you're in this area of the country, you don't feel like there's any SEC bias in football, but many in the country do. I look at it now as this being on the flip side. For as much respect as the football gets, for some reason, basketball is fighting to get respect when maybe they should have more respect. You had 3 teams. Would you have Tennessee Sweet 16 last year, Florida and Kentucky? Mm-hmm. I just don't see the kind of respect that is deserved there, and I don't know if it's just kind of some flack from what everyone gives them with the football side of it, but I don't know what's going to change it.
Well, you need to get multiple. I think the depth of field is the issue because that's the thing that's been so good. When the Big East was intact before they broke up and went Big Priest and the American Athletic, they would have 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 or 11 teams
Sure.
that were worthy of making the field. Big Ten's got 6 or 7 or 8. Big 12, same deal. So that's the thing. You don't have a depth of field. There's no question that Kentucky is as good as anybody. That goes without saying. Florida, when they're good, they're as good as anybody. And I think, when Arkansas, of course, when they had their run. The problem is your middle of the pack has been so marginal the last several years.
Well, my argument would be
since you were in school, the middle of the pack has not been good.
True, and my argument would be on a neutral site, if you just get into the tournament. We always talk about getting into the tournament. Look what Tennessee did.
I know, but they were good, and they had a couple of NBA guys on the team.
Tennessee did. There's a lot of teams, though, I think, if given that opportunity, whether it's LSU or Arkansas last year with the matchups, they can make a run like that. It's just getting in, and how do you get the respect to get in?
I'd have to look at what they actually did in
Tennessee.
The regular season.
LSU doesn't need to be losing on a neutral court to Clemson. Probably Arkansas still has a record right now that if the decisions were made today, I think Arkansas is good enough to get a spot this year. I think they've already shown it so far, but I realize conference is going to change it. And here's what happens. The SEC is so hard to win on the road for whatever reason. It's not, and it seems like the SEC is a somewhat poorly officiated conference. The home teams do get an edge, and you beat each other up. If you go 9-9 in this league, it's probably an accomplishment for most teams, but everybody else from outside the SEC looks at it and goes, they're just a 500 team. They're just mediocre against teams that weren't any good in December.
Tennessee was 24-13 overall last year, so let's not act like, oh my gosh, they were. I thought they got a little bit. They were underseeded. The fact that they had to do what you can call it first round, I call it play-in. The fact they had to do that, I thought they were better than that anyway. So I wasn't surprised at all that they advanced.
I'm with you, and that's I guess.
But again, they were
point.
But they were a good team. They were in the top 3 or 4 in the league last year.
And that's right. But there's the 3, 4, 5, 6 those clumps because Kentucky, Florida always separates themselves and it's like the next.
You're right. Okay. Last year was. I don't think last year was typical though. But LSU at 9-9, Ole Miss was 9-9, Missouri was 9-9. Those teams were all.
What was Arkansas last year?
Same 9-9. They were 10-8. I'm sorry, they were 10-8. So those are all. You're right. I think the middle of the pack of the league last year was probably better than it has been. That's been the issue. The bottom of the league stinks, but the bottom of most leagues stinks.
Heck, even Ole Miss caught fire 2 years ago. You remember that?
Yeah, and they were fine last year. 19-14, they were 500 in conference.
But the teams at the bottom of the league last year upset people. South Carolina upset Kentucky. Arkansas lost to South Carolina on a neutral court in the tournament. That probably put the stake in them as big as anybody. But the thing was, that team wasn't that far off, and it wasn't that far too long ago that Frank Martin was being proclaimed one of the best coaches in the country. So is he still not? Did he forget how to coach, or did his players forget how good a coach he was? So they finished next to last ahead of Auburn. I think the SEC does a terrific job, and probably doesn't have to do a whole lot of work at it in promoting its football. I don't think they do the same kind of job out of Birmingham about its basketball for whatever reason.
Interesting.
Could be. Quickly, I want to run through a couple Keithley Service Committee live fan feedbacks, and I want to get your thoughts on the matchup with the football team. And there's not going to be a lot of talk about it this week. They've got finals, and there hasn't been much discussion about it. We do have a couple suspensions I want to get your thoughts on. Mike in Malvern says the SEC from top to bottom is a joke compared to the ACC and the Big East. Outside of Kentucky and Florida, name a consistent NCAA tournament team year in and year out. There isn't one. Tennessee's there a lot, but the SEC in basketball is the ACC in football. Kev says, in defense of those disrespecting the league, the teams that advanced last year were the only really good teams in the conference. And Jimbo and Dumas, not feeling very optimistic today, says, I think the Razorbacks missed the big dance and Anderson is done. What happens if they miss the tournament this year somehow? You just shrugged.
Well, it's because it's tough to say because of the direction. I mean,
you don't think so?
He's not done. He still has 3 years left on a contract, and they're not going to can him, even if they don't make the tournament. And I think Andy Kennedy got. I think it took him 7 years to make the tournament at Ole Miss. Although our fans will quickly jump up and say, "Well, we're not Ole Miss," you know. Yeah, but Ole Miss had a practice facility before Arkansas did.
Well, I mean, the question becomes: Are you going to get back there? We've been talking about Nebraska and Missouri, and I mean not Nebraska, Missouri, Nebraska and Michigan. Are they ever going to be back to what they once were? Is Arkansas ever going to be back to what it once was? I mean, it's been Pat Bradley was on the court the last time they made a Sweet 16. With all due respect, buddy, you're no spring chicken. I'm just saying, it's been a while. Let's not pretend like this is an elite program right now.
I'm now a solid elite. No, it's not.
Can they get back there?
It's going to take time for it to get back there.
Who was born before 1996 on the team, or who's playing college basketball now? You know, just what a handful of. I mean, no one knows of Arkansas as a Sweet 16 program anymore, except us old folks. Just face it, you guys are old now, like me. So you. But
Jim, you can agree though. You can agree. Basketball,
or disagree.
College basketball, the way it is now, with the three-point line, everybody being able to shoot the three, just the style that it's played now, all you got to do is get in this 68-team field, and you've got a good chance of winning 2 or 3 games to get into. You don't have to be one of these traditional teams that have been good the past 5-10 years to make a run to the Sweet 16. And Sweet 16 is one of those things where you say, okay, you remember Sweet 16. First, second round, you're like, okay, we just made the tournament. So I could see Arkansas getting in and making Sweet 16 this year if things if they pull together. The right draw.
Yeah, they definitely. I mean, they showed the first few games. There are pieces there for sure.
It used to matter that Carolina under Dean Smith made 18 straight Sweet 16s. That was a great accomplishment. I understand your point. I mean, Kent State was Stan Heath made the Elite Eight. Everybody throws that out. Who made the Elite Eight? Dayton was an Elite Eight team last year. Well, they had the right matchups. Things fell right for them. They were the 5th-ranked team in the A-10, but they still were the best team in the NCAA tournament among the A-10 teams. So, yeah, I mean, it all falls out. I mean, if you get the right matchup, you can win a couple of games. Arkansas just needs to get there, and Arkansas doesn't need to stub its toe with 4 turnovers in the last 59 seconds of a game on the road.
Yeah, I'm not confident in a lot of things. I'm pretty sure that's probably not going to happen again, so we'll see.
It is the question mark, though, is that ball handling situation.
We're about out of time here, Jim. I did want to ask your thoughts on the suspensions, and I guess really for Washington, that's going to be the end of it. But your thoughts on how that played out, and any insight into what went wrong there?
I don't think we know what went wrong.
You do?
No, I think, you can imagine what went wrong.
I really don't have any idea, to be honest. I don't know. It could have been as simple as missed a workout.
Led to some extracurricular celebration, so to speak.
Okay.
Are you suggesting a party?
I think you can party, Pat. I think it's okay. You can party. You just don't need proof of the party, and still around with you.
What's the impact of Gaines not being available?
And I'll say that Carroll Washington started the year in August. If you remember August 3rd, Brett Bielema said he was the best cornerback on the team. Well, I would say over the course of the season, a lot of guys passed him, and there's a lot of depth that's been established there at cornerback. I think the same thing with Gaines, although you'll miss Gaines' hard-hitting ability, which he always brought a good lift or two to every game. Most of the time they were legal and didn't get flagged, but I don't know. I mean, they just need to be a little smarter in their choices, and I like what Bielema said. He was asked, "Are you going to miss these guys?" Not a bit. He said that.
Yeah.
I don't know what else you could say with that. Are you going to miss them? No, not a bit.
Yep. Well, I guess as a coach, you got to say that.
I like the attitude.
Well, I hate that for Gaines. He's a playmaker, and again, I don't wish ill on Washington, but I mean, he made about 6 more tackles this year than I did. So, at the end of the day, I don't know that the impact is too great there. Maybe in practice.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I saw him, but I mean, was that people staying away from him too? You never know. I mean, people may have thrown at the other cornerback spot on a more regular basis, but that cornerback spot got good. That kid got better. I mean, I'm talking about. The kid from Tulsa, Jared Collins. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, Tolliver is a solid player. Disappointed he didn't make all-freshman team because I think he was an all-freshman player. He certainly, stepped it up for Arkansas when I didn't figure a freshman could play that well that soon. So, I mean, they're okay. Texas isn't going to test them as much in the air, I wouldn't think. I think it's going to be more of a can Arkansas, stop their running game like the other teams who have beaten them. And
Jim, appreciate
the score. Can Arkansas score on Charlie Strong's defense? That'll be the big thing.
Yeah, we'll talk more about it next week for sure as we get closer to the matchup. But appreciate the time, and we will catch up next Tuesday. And I will wish you an official Merry Christmas then. But
I'll be looking forward to that.
Good. Well, I'll make it count, my friend.
Okay, we'll talk about another Razorback win.
Yes, that'll be good too.